And welcome back. We're going to continue our conversation about nested loops. Let's go ahead and look at some examples. Now, I'm starting off here with the example we had previously because this is a great example for us to look at and to kind of build off to make our own. Now, this one, of course, is showing, in this case, two nested for loops. Now, if I wanted to do a different type, let's say I want to do a nested while loop, I could do that as well. So let's just say while true. And let's just have this one do something pretty simple. Let's just have it do a systemout.println. And let's just say enter a number. And that means I'm going to need to bring in the scanner class here. So let's go ahead and do that. And create our scanner object. So then we go ahead and read this in. So let's say int num is equal to kb.next int. And what we want to do is let's go ahead and have this value that we're entering here act as our loop modifier. So let's say while num is less than 10. All right, just use something simple here, and let's go ahead and create a loop here, and let's just have this one simply say system.out.println counting up to 10. So a very simple program here, simply just going to count up to 10, and we're simply just going to do num plus plus system.out.println, and let's just have this output num. Now, of course, if I do this right now, we are going to have it saying counting up to 10 each time. So I'm actually going to move that outside of this loop, so we only have to see this once. And let's actually put that there because we actually probably want to have that count first and then iterate. And so it's going to keep going until this condition is no longer met. Then it'll fall out of this inner loop and it'll come back to the top and have us re-enter a number. Now at some point we're going to want to have this stop. So let's just go ahead and add in a if statement. So let's just say if num is less than 0. Okay, we're going to break out, and that's going to exit this loop. So this is a simple counting nested loop. So let's go ahead and run this. And of course we should see our nested for loop from before, and we have our prompt to please enter a number. Cool. So let's go ahead and enter in 5. And it'll say counting up to 10. We get 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then, of course, you notice it did not hit 10 here, so counting up to 10. If we wanted to include 10, we could very easily change it to a less than or equal to. But let's go ahead and try a different number. Let's just go ahead and put in this time 0. And, of course, now we get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Perfect. And if I enter in, let's say, -1, which is a negative number, it, counted up. And notice it says enter a number still. So we may have to revisit our code here. So because at this point, -1 is, even though this is a number that should fall out of here, we, of course, have to investigate this. And this is something you have to worry about when you start working with nested loops, is that sometimes you may have to think, well, how is this actually working? So one of the things I'm going to do first is, because I want to check to see if this is the number that causes this to exit the loop. So I'm just going to add a quick prompt in here that says exiting loop, just so I can keep track of what this is. All right, and it says, I got an error, it says string load is not properly enclosed by a double quote. Oh, I forgot a quotation mark here. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to actually just take this if statement here, and I'm going to put it before this nested loop. So what this is going to do is allow me to check this loop now to make sure that if it is indeed not part of this, I can fall out. So now if we rerun, I'm just going to go ahead and put 1 in this time. So now we have the option to do a negative number. So I'm going to do -1. And you see now it prints out counting up to 10. And then it says exiting loop. So one thing I might have to do is, so this counting up to 10 is still in the wrong spot here. So let's have that happen after this loop, so that way it properly happens afterwards. So I'm going to rerun it one more time. And let's just go ahead and test -1 right off the start, and we get exiting loop. Perfect. So we're going to modify our prompt here, enter a number. larger, enter number to count to 10 larger than, let's actually count a number to 10 that is 0 or larger. There we go, that works. And so now we, of course, exiting loop, if it's too small, exiting loop, number is smaller than 0. And here we have our counting up to 10, it counts out. So if we test this out one more time, let's go ahead and just do, let's say 2. We get our output we're expecting, we get 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, perfect. And if we go ahead and do -2, we get exiting loop number is smaller than 0. So that is perfect. So that is, again, a quick demonstration of how to construct a nested loop for while statements. And of course, we have our nested for loop here, which we had previously, which is a great example. We can, of course, build our own very easily. It's a very similar structure. All we have to do is just modify what we want it to print out. And of course, I could modify this here as well. So for example, if I wanted this one to print these out all on the same line, I could very easily just come in here and say, you know what, I want to do this similar. I could add in a tab escape character, for example, to go ahead and have this be a similar output. And if I try doing this, of course, with print line, one thing you'll notice, if I put in a print line statement, you'll notice they are like that, because this is, again, is a print line here. So I would have to probably want to make sure this is a print before I go ahead and do that. Of course, then we just have to modify this so we don't end up with our next prompt here on the next line. But again, just little things that you can work with to go ahead and get used to working with nested loops.